What would you do if your entire world was falling apart? Imagine waking up each day, unsure if your home would still be standing, your children safe, or your future intact. For years, this was the harsh reality for the people of Burkina Faso. Insurgency, chaos, and despair ruled their lives. But then, something extraordinary happened. A leader emerged, a man who dared to believe that change was possible. This is the story of Ibrahim Traoré and the incredible journey of a nation that refused to give up. So how did Burkina Faso rise from the ashes? Here, we would like to take a moment and thank you for supporting us and being a valued part of our strong community. And if you are not yet a member, we encourage you to join us and help build an even stronger community together. Let's get started. You know, sometimes a country hits rock bottom and you wonder, can it ever bounce back? That's exactly where Burkina Faso was not too long ago. Insurgency, political chaos, and people losing faith. Life was hard, really hard. Imagine waking up every day wondering if your village would still be standing by nightfall. That was the grim reality for so many Burkinabe families. But here's the thing about tough times. They often set the stage for incredible comebacks. And Burkina Faso? It's a comeback story worth telling. A country that found its footing, thanks to the courage of its people and the bold leadership of one man. His name? Ibrahim Traoré. This story isn't just about what went wrong. It's about how a nation turned things around when it seemed impossible. But what was life like in Burkina Faso before 2024? Life in Burkina Faso before 2024 was a story of hardship, fear, and uncertainty, defined by relentless insecurity and socioeconomic struggles. The country was caught in a downward spiral, with insurgency and political instability spreading like wildfire, leaving its people grasping for hope. To understand just how dire things were, let's break it down. Imagine living in a place where stepping outside your home could mean walking into danger. That was the reality for millions in Burkina Faso. Extremist groups had turned vast swaths of the country into battlegrounds. Rural areas, once known for their vibrant markets and close-knit communities, became ghost towns as families fled violence. These extremist groups didn't just disrupt lives, they controlled them. Villages were raided, schools were burned, and entire communities were forced to abandon their homes. Farmers, who formed the backbone of the country's economy, couldn't work their fields out of fear of attacks. The result? Widespread hunger and a sharp decline in agricultural productivity only worsened the suffering. The economic toll was also devastating. Burkina Faso, an agricultural nation, saw its farmlands abandoned and its markets disrupted. Trade routes, critical for transporting goods and connecting rural communities to urban centers, were frequently ambushed or entirely shut down by insurgents. This isolation cut off entire regions from essential supplies like food, medicine, and fuel. Our Today video sponsor. Until now, depression was considered incurable, lasting forever and helping big pharma and psychiatrists make hundreds of billions every year. This was intentionally done so depressed people could be milked forever. However, as Trump has decided to change the very status quo, the spillover effect reaches the healthcare industry as well. And we are not just speculating. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has just been appointed as the new Secretary of Health and Human Services in the Trump administration. And we all know RFK Jr. specializes in what he is passionate about, healthcare. Judging by the already announced appointments and judging by Kennedy's own words, it is our personal opinion that making America healthy again will be a top presidential priority. And we know from RFK's News Nation town hall that he is overwhelmingly positive about the potential of psychedelic treatments. But what is this treatment, and how can it make something that was earlier considered chronic as treatable? Listen to what the experts say about it.
The difference is that the psychedelic helps open a portal into deeper understanding, into deeper feeling of connectedness with self, with others. That's something that antidepressants don't do.
Instead of maybe numbing or just decreasing symptoms, we're seeing actual healing occur.
And in psychedelic therapy, CYBN, being traded under the ticker CYBN on the New York Stock Exchange, is the leader. Listen to what the company's CEO, who has over 30 years of experience in healthcare, said, which can make his company a personal favorite for Trump's healthcare sector.
It's a paradigm shift. moving away from treating daily signs and symptoms of depression, moving more towards attacking the underlying cause and then changing the course of disease, which they'd never been able to do. Absolutely a psychological dimension, and patients going back and connecting with their past selves, their past traumas and experiences as well.
That's why we are calling it the Republican of the healthcare industry, which will bring revolutionary changes. Both Trump and Kennedy agree upon and live by the fact that the new face of healthcare and dealing with mental health must be accessible, simple, and easy. Between Elon Musk's and Ramaswamy's Department of Government Efficiency and RFK's mission of helping tens of millions of Americans to get on the high road, we are very bullish on psychedelics. It's because other than this, existing products are far inferior to the ones that are in the development stage from CYBN. It's unbelievable, but 100% of participants were responsive to treatment, and 71% of participants were in remission at 12 months after just 2 16-milligram doses of CYB00, the drug being developed by CYBN. And this drug is passing regulatory hurdles with flying colors. But why are we telling you this? Well, CYBN is the first full-fledged Trump-era stock that will dominate instantly after Trump's inauguration. Consider it the Bitcoin of 2013. But before trusting, you have to know about numbers. CYBN's market cap is $240 million, which is lower today than the total sum the company has raised from major institutional players, which is $300 million. In other words, the company is destined to reach its original worth, rising to $300 million. And after that point, then the company will begin to grow. Imagine those who would invest in the company now and the percentage of profit they will pocket. But it gets more interesting. CYBN has more than $150 million in cash in the treasury, and the company is led by a team that are pure geniuses and wizards in the healthcare industry, having 300 combined peer-reviewed publications as their contributions to healthcare. But how will CYBN grow under Trump's administration? Besides Trump and his health secretary, Trump's right hand, Elon Musk, is on board as well. As recently as this July, Elon Musk continued to educate and inform his ex-followers about the need for innovative psychedelic treatments, and we believe that CYBN could be a major beneficiary of what might come next in American healthcare. As of now in the industry, psychedelics, especially psilocybin, are already administered with great success to patients suffering from depression. But the current products require frequent visits to the clinic, year-long treatments, and seemingly no end to it. CYBN changes that completely, bringing a revolution. The clinical trials have shown promising results after 2 intermittent doses, 3 weeks apart. Patients report sustained results. When I look at this from the government's perspective and the frequency of visits that the present ways of treating depression and anxiety are treated, the costs to the system are enormous. And Trump wouldn't like that. He would naturally go for CYBN and perhaps mention it in one of his speeches. With CYBN, there will be no more chronic mental illness, which lasted years. The cured people can resume being positive members of society and a source of joy for their families. According to the World Health Organization, about 280 million people have depression in the world, offering an addressable market for CYBN. Not only does CYBN get an opportunity to grow, but also addresses a problem, serves humanity, and makes the world a better place. We could be on the verge of further decriminalization, depending on the speed at which Trump's administration can work. Not only that, but CYBN can allow war veterans to come out of their depressions and trauma. As you know, both Donald Trump and his Vice President J.D. Vance appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience. Joe Rogan is the world's top podcaster, and in the 3 hours conversation with Mr. Vance, Rogan goes on a 2-minute emotional plea for help and explains to the future vice president why veterans of the U.S. Army, who are asked to engage in combat, risk their lives, protect their brothers in arms, and suffer from trauma, can't access psychedelics, which, as Rogan says, has already helped Navy SEALs, like Sean Ryan, who has the #2 podcast in the world today. The voices of reason are speaking, and we believe this administration will do much in paving the way for innovative psychedelic treatments in controlled and supervised environments for medical use for veterans and perhaps the general population. This is the reason we are so bullish on CYBN, which has raised tens of millions of dollars at $16 per share and trades below $12 per share. The results speak for themselves. No competitor has been able to prove such strong positive results. 4 months after administering only 2 doses. Even patients see the difference within 2 minutes, instead of waiting for months and sinking in more anxiety. Listen to what CYBN's CEO said about that.
Drugs like Prozac and Lexapro, these Zoloft that many people have heard of, with those treatments, typically you see about a third of patients finding remission after about 6 weeks or so of daily dosing. And of course, patients that end up taking those treatments for.
As of now, CYBN is ready to begin its drug's clinical supplies manufacturing. 30 study sites have been selected to see the drug's impacts. Already, this drug is doing wonders, as CYBN's CEO said.
This is a synthetic, modified version of psilocin. Psilocin is the active agent in psilocybin. We've modified this molecule through a process called deuteration, where we selectively substitute certain hydrogen atoms on the molecule with deuterium or heavy hydrogen. And the impact of that has been to create a novel molecule, but it also appears to improve the efficiency of psilocin, improves the stability of psilocin, and seems to improve potency too. We're seeing effects at lower doses than we had anticipated.
There are transformational moments in life. Research it and conduct your own independent due diligence. Do check out the link of the website in the description below. Unemployment skyrocketed as businesses collapsed under the weight of these disruptions. Even in urban areas where security was marginally better, the effects of the conflict were felt. Prices for necessities soared, pushing an already struggling population further into poverty. Many families had to make heartbreaking choices, like pulling their children out of school to work or skipping meals to make what little they had last.
According to the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, Africa's population is projected to grow to over 1.6 billion people by the year 2030. The continent will also have the highest youth growth rate in the world. Youth in Africa account for 60% of all of the continent's jobless, and the rising population adds to the complexity of the problem. On average, 11 million young people join the African labor market each year, yet the continent generates only 3.7 million jobs annually. So this forces many job seekers into the informal sector, and as a result, many youth lack access to job security, social safety nets, or any form.
Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. One of the most visible impacts of this chaos was the mass displacement of people. By 2024, over 2 million Burkinabé had been forced to leave their homes, seeking safety in overcrowded camps. These camps were often poorly equipped, with limited access to clean water, food, and medical care. Families lived in makeshift shelters, vulnerable to disease and malnutrition. Children bore the brunt of this crisis. Many lost access to education as schools in conflict zones were closed or destroyed. Without a stable environment, these children face not only an uncertain present, but also a bleak future, where opportunities to escape the cycle of poverty and violence seem non-existent. And the government's inability to manage the crisis only deepened the despair. Corruption was rife, with resources meant for development or security often disappearing before they reached those in need. Decision-making was slow and inefficient, leaving the military underfunded and underprepared. The armed forces, tasked with protecting the nation, struggled to keep up with the evolving tactics of extremist groups. Soldiers were poorly equipped, lacked proper training, and often felt abandoned by their leaders. Morale within the ranks was low, and desertion rates were alarmingly high. For the average Burkinabé, it felt like the state had all but given up on them. Perhaps the most profound impact of this period was the erosion of trust. Trust in the government, the military, and even in the possibility of a better future. People felt abandoned and powerless. Protests erupted in major cities, with citizens demanding action, but little seemed to change. This sense of hopelessness wasn't just felt on an individual level, it permeated the entire nation. Burkina Faso, once known for its vibrant culture and resilient people, became a symbol of chaos and despair. But as history often shows, it's in these darkest moments that the seeds of change are planted. By 2024, the call for change was deafening. Burkina Faso needed a leader who could understand the struggles of its people and offer not just words but real solutions. The people weren't looking for a savior. They were looking for someone who would stand shoulder to shoulder with them in their fight for survival. This was the stage upon which Ibrahim Traoré entered. His leadership wasn't just about addressing the symptoms of Burkina Faso's problems. It was about confronting the root causes head-on. And as the country began to shift under his guidance, the world watched in awe. Let us tell you about Ibrahim Traoré. He wasn't born into privilege. No silver spoon, no fancy connections, just a regular guy who worked hard. Growing up, Traoré saw how tough life was for ordinary Burkinabe. And when he joined the military, he didn't just sit in an office. He was out there, on the ground, facing the same dangers his people faced. What made Traoré different wasn't just his bravery, it was his ability to connect with people. You know how some leaders talk down to you, making you feel small? Traoré wasn't like that. He listened. When villagers told him about their struggles, he didn't brush them off. He made them feel heard, and that's powerful. When he came into power, Traoré didn't make empty promises. He rolled up his sleeves and got to work. His priority? Security. Because, let's face it, nothing else matters when your country isn't safe. But here's the thing, fixing the military wasn't just about buying new weapons or hiring more soldiers. It was about building something people could believe in again. So, how did he do it? Fixing the military was like rebuilding a broken engine. It needed everything: new parts, better fuel, and a skilled mechanic. When Traoré took charge, the army was a mess. Soldiers were underpaid, poorly trained, and armed with outdated equipment. Honestly, it was a miracle they were holding the line at all. The first thing Traoré did was recruit fresh talent, and not just anybody. He wanted people who were passionate about protecting their country. Thousands signed up, inspired by his leadership. But here's the thing, you can't just hand someone a uniform and expect them to become a soldier. Traoré revamped the training programs, making them tougher, smarter, and more relevant to the challenges they faced. He didn't stop there. The army needed tools, and Traoré found them. Drones for surveillance, advanced communication systems, and better weapons. All of it was part of his plan. And let us tell you, the difference was night and day. Soldiers who once struggled to hold their ground were now pushing back, reclaiming territory from extremists. But Traoré knew that even the best army couldn't do it alone. To truly protect Burkina Faso, the people themselves had to get involved. And that's where his next big idea came in. This is where things get inspiring. Traoré believed that security wasn't just the military's job, it was everyone's responsibility. And guess what? The people stepped up in a way that no one saw coming. He encouraged villagers to form defense groups, small teams of locals who knew the land better than anyone. These weren't professional soldiers. They were farmers, shopkeepers, and parents who wanted to protect their families. The military provided them with training and basic equipment, but the courage? That came from within. And these groups made a huge difference. They worked hand in hand with the army, sharing information and defending their communities. In some cases, they even pushed back against extremists before the military arrived. What's even more incredible is how this brought people together. Villages that had been torn apart by fear started to rebuild themselves. Women organized food supplies and first aid stations, while elders took on leadership roles, coordinating efforts with the military. It wasn't just about fighting back, it was about reclaiming their lives. But Traoré wasn't just focused on the immediate fight. He had a bigger vision for Burkina Faso, one that went beyond guns and battles. It was about independence, true independence. And to get there, he had to make a bold move. Here's the deal. For years, Burkina Faso, like many African countries, depended on Western aid, but there was always a catch. We'll give you money, but you have to follow our rules. Traoré wasn't having it. He wanted Burkina Faso to stand on its own 2 feet. So he turned to new allies, Russia, China, and others who offered partnerships without the strings. This wasn't just about money or weapons, it was about respect. These countries treated Burkina Faso as an equal, not a charity case. And you know what? It worked. With their help, Traoré secured advanced technology, military gear, and economic investments. Roads were rebuilt, hospitals got new equipment, and the army became stronger than ever. And the best part? Burkina Faso got to call the shots. This shift didn't just change the game for Burkina Faso, it sent a message to the world. Traoré showed that you don't have to bow to Western powers to succeed. But he also knew that rebuilding a nation wasn't just about strategy, it was about heart. And that's exactly what he gave to his people. All right, let's talk about the results. Because what's leadership without real, tangible wins? When Traoré's strategies started coming together, the change was undeniable. Villages that had been under insurgent control for years were finally liberated. Imagine what that must have felt like for families who'd been displaced, finally being able to go home, walk through fields they'd abandoned, and sleep under their roofs again. And it wasn't just about reclaiming land. With extremist groups pushed back, trade routes reopened. Suddenly, markets were buzzing again. Farmers were selling their crops, and shops were stocked with essentials. People started to feel a sense of normalcy creeping back into their lives, something they hadn't felt in years. But the victories didn't stop there. Schools that had been shut down reopened their doors. Children, who had been out of classrooms for far too long, were finally able to learn again. Once impassable roads were repaired, connecting remote villages to towns and cities. These weren't just symbolic wins, they were life-changing. And let's not forget the military itself. The morale of the troops soared as they started to see the fruits of their labor. Soldiers who once felt like they were fighting a losing battle now stood proud, knowing they were making a real difference. But Traoré knew that while victories on the battlefield were crucial, the people who had suffered through all this needed support to truly rebuild their lives. So, what did he do to help them? Now, rebuilding a country isn't just about fixing roads and reopening schools, it's about taking care of the people who have been through hell and back. And Traoré, he didn't just talk about helping, he made sure it happened. One of his priorities was setting up relief camps for families displaced by the conflict. These weren't just places to sleep, they were lifelines. People received food, clean water, medical care, and a sense of safety that had been missing for so long. But Traoré didn't stop at temporary fixes. He wanted to rebuild communities, not just patch them up. Take education, for example. Traoré's government launched a massive effort to rebuild schools that had been destroyed or abandoned. They didn't just throw some paint on the walls and call it a day. They brought in teachers, supplies, and even mental health counselors to help kids who had seen and experienced unimaginable trauma. And then there were jobs. Traoré understood that one of the best ways to keep extremism at bay was to give people hope, especially the youth. So, he launched programs to train young people in trades like carpentry, farming, and technology. These weren't just jobs, they were opportunities to build better futures. Women weren't left out either. Traoré's administration encouraged women to start small businesses by providing them with microloans and training. These efforts empowered women to support their families and become leaders in their communities. Slowly but surely, life in Burkina Faso was starting to change. But Traoré knew that lasting peace meant tackling the root causes of extremism. So how did he do that? Let's take a look. Here's the thing about extremism. It doesn't just show up out of nowhere. It feeds on things like poverty, unemployment, and hopelessness. And Traoré understood that if you wanted to stop it for good, you had to address those root causes. So that's exactly what he did. First, there was education. Not just for kids, but for entire communities. The government launched nationwide campaigns to counter extremist propaganda. Religious leaders, teachers, and community elders were enlisted to spread messages of unity, peace, and resilience. People were taught how to spot the warning signs of radicalization and how to stand against it. Then came jobs. Traoré's administration created thousands of opportunities through public works projects like building roads, repairing infrastructure, and developing local industries. These jobs didn't just give people a paycheck, they gave them purpose. For young people, who were often the easiest targets for extremist recruiters, these programs were life-changing. But Traoré didn't stop there. He also worked to strengthen the justice system, ensuring that extremists who were captured faced fair trials. This sent a clear message. Burkina Faso was a nation of laws, not revenge. By addressing both the symptoms and the causes of extremism, Traoré created a foundation for lasting peace. But there was one more piece to the puzzle: unity. And that's where the magic happened. But before the end, a final touch was needed, and that was unity. You know, there's something powerful about a country that stands united. And Traoré knew this. He believed that if Burkina Faso was going to move forward, it couldn't just be about government programs or military victories. It had to be about the people coming together as one. He started national campaigns to celebrate Burkina Faso's culture, history, and resilience. Festivals were organized where people from different regions came together to share music, food, and traditions. These weren't just parties, they were reminders of what made Burkina Faso special and worth fighting for. Traoré also launched initiatives that encouraged communities to take pride in their progress. Villages that rebuilt schools or cleared farmland were celebrated as examples of what could be achieved through teamwork. These moments didn't just inspire others. They strengthened the bonds between neighbors who had once felt divided by fear. And let's not forget the role of storytelling. Traoré's administration worked with local media to share stories of courage and resilience from ordinary citizens. Stories that reminded people they weren't alone in this fight. The result? A sense of unity that hadn't been felt in years. But this journey isn't over. Burkina Faso still has challenges ahead. So, what does the future hold for this incredible nation? Let's wrap it up. Burkina Faso's story isn't just one of survival. It's one of transformation. Under Ibrahim Traoré's leadership, the country has laid a foundation for something truly remarkable. The military is stronger, the people are more united, and the government is focused on empowering its citizens. But here's the most exciting part. This is just the beginning. Traoré's vision goes beyond security and economic recovery. He's building a nation that can stand tall, a nation that can inspire others. And if Burkina Faso can achieve all of this in just a few years, imagine what the future holds. This isn't just a story about a country. It's a story about hope, resilience, and the power of leadership that truly cares. Do you think we are about to see a new Burkina Faso under Traoré's leadership? Let us know in the comment section what you think about Traoré. Will he save Burkina Faso? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.